So, big question, how to untangle the Gordian knot of e-commerce. As with any Gordian knot, it takes a sharp sword and a brave man to wield it. So, you are the Alexanders, you are to wield the sword, and I will tell you about the sword. So what it takes really, what is the tool, what is the knowledge you need to have to be successful in the e-commerce. Alright, so starting from something I think we are all aware of. E-commerce is growing, e-commerce is outgrowing the classical commerce. E-commerce grows globally 4 times faster than the commerce itself. It stands globally for $2 trillion. It's 10% already of the total commerce, B2C. But with this pace of growth, it will stand for close to 17% in 3 years' time. In context of Greece e-commerce market is 3 billion. It's 2% of the global commerce. If you look into countries that are far more advanced and developed, like UK, US, e-commerce stands for 14–17% of the GDP. In Greece, this is still 2%. But it will grow. It will grow for a number of reasons, but starting from a single fact that today only half of Greeks that use internet are actually online buyers. And naturally, this is the pool from which the new online buyers will appear. So, how Greek online buyers are different? How, basically, what is it that drives them to buy, especially in the local stores? Obviously, no surprise, it's the price. But second, Greeks are able to count, and this is not only the price of the good I'm buying, this is the total cost of the purchase itself. And free shipping, or low cost of shipping, is one of the key elements in their choice. 70% and more of them says that if the shipping was free, then they would buy more. But what makes Greek buyers very special ones in Europe is 50% of them say that secure way of paying is something critical for them. And again, 50% is saying that I would buy more where I'm buying today, provided the methods of payments that I'm presented in the checkout process, I feel secure, I trust. On the other hand, what is stopping Greeks from buying online? More than 50% of them drop off from the moment they selected the good and they don't complete the purchase because they are surprised with additional costs related to it, and they find it only after selecting the product itself. The other factor is, again, secure and preferred method of payment, not available. I selected the good, I started the buying process, and 30% of those people drop off from the purchase, again, because they don't see a method of payment that they prefer, feel secure about. And this is very special for Greeks. So what it makes the payment method preferred for the Greek buyers? It's feeling of, or perception of being secure. What does it mean? My financial details, my online bank details, my card details are not exposed to be leaked in any form. Obviously, second is, I can use this method broadly. Wherever I go, wherever I shop, this method is available. And this is 40% of the buyers close to who define their preferred method of payment by network of acceptance. And over 30% of the buyers say, especially if I'm buying at the merchant that I relatively don't know, it's not a global brand, it's not a big store, then if my payment method provides me buyer protection. So what happens if I don't receive what I order? Or what happens if what I ordered I receive, but it's actually something different or damaged? And they seek in the methods of payment additional security, kind of an insurance, to provide them and make them peaceful in their minds when they are making the purchase. And this is actually why PayPal providing, especially on majority of those needs, we have now every fifth Greek using PayPal, and not only cross-border when a natural gas would come from, but also domestic. So a Greek today can pay with PayPal on train Z, buying a train ticket, ordering food with eFood, shopping on Aegean Airlines, eTravel, and a number of other merchants. So not only basically occasional cross-border shopping, but also domestic everyday use. So, the trick behind being a Greek seller to Greek buyers, is exactly the same trick that all the merchants or all the sellers focusing today on their domestic buyers face. Because you know what? Consumers are not looking anymore if where I buy is my domestic store. If I'm Polish, I don't care on average as online buyer if I'm buying a Polish store. So we did a research on 13 countries, Greece being one of them. And if you look globally, 50% of online buyers today buy cross-border today. 70% plus are saying, actually it doesn't matter. No, I'm open, provided that what I look for and where I buy maximizes online. Price expectations, delivery options, payment methods, etc., etc. So this is the global picture. Let's look on Greeks. So 68% of the Greek online buyers say they actually did at least one cross-border shopping in the last 12 months. 10% of the buyers of the Greeks say, I'm buying only cross-border. Right? So if you are looking, if you're focusing on your Greek buyers, hey, they will go away because they will go more and more cross-border. So if you're solely focusing on your domestic customers, you are doomed. I need to say that. So does it really mean that there is nothing to do? No, because you know what? Greek buyers are 2% of global online buying population. There is 50 times more of people buying globally that actually, to a large extent, buy cross-border. And they don't care if I'm buying it. Greek store, if I'm buying it. Italian store, being anywhere else. So this is your hunting zone. This is your growth potential. This is not your domestic base. Because again, this base will start, they already shop cross-border, they already look outside, but your potential cross-border customers, international buyers, this is the growth engine for you. So, who buys today in Greece or on Greek stores? Greeks, obviously, to start with. Then you have a group of natural suspects. It's US, UK, Germany. But do you really want to focus on those markets? I'm not so sure. So first, those three are actually still quite domestic ones. Second, everyone wants to go there because those are such a big countries, because those are such big economies with so many buyers, with so actually rich buyers. Right? So everyone goes there. Huge competition. But then there are countries that are still significant but growing fastest. France, Spain, Italy. And outside of that, there are countries where that buyer population is not actually domestic whatsoever. Those are the markets like China, India, to start with, but also Ireland, coming closer a bit. Israel, we're close to 90%, especially Ireland and Israel, for example. 90% of the buyers go cross-border. Yeah. So don't always look at the largest. Don't always look at, let's say, the natural guesses, but think broader and think of the countries where the buyers naturally go outside and look for opportunities to buy. So, what does it take to be successful in a cross-border mode? First is mobile. Be mobile in your way to sell. Have a mobile job. Outside of Central Eastern Europe, so take everything else, the Western Europe, the Southeast Asia, in total 30% of the purchases are going already on mobile. And if you take markets like China, India, US, it's actually 50%. This is growing fastest. This is outgrowing the growth of e-commerce. That is growing 25% in total. And mobile has doubled that. In PayPal, we saw actually the share of mobile purchases in our volumes starting from 1% in 2010. Guess what it is today? 40%. It's 40% today. Is being mobile good enough? Obviously not. Right, so you need to understand what your consumer from Germany, from UK, from US, from wherever is expecting on top. And they're not expecting anything else when you get to the important elements that a Greek customer today, shopping cross-border. That is 70% of them close to. They're not feeling comfortable in buying experience being provided in a different language than their own. So you need to provide a buying experience, your shop, your checkout, in their local language. They're also not very secure to actually see their purchase in other currency than their own. Because in the end of the day, in e-commerce there are only two important and sexy moments in the whole experience of the buyer. I choose what I want, and I get it. And everything that comes in between can only provide a neutral experience at best. Avoid surprises. I think there was a point today about delivery cost or shipment cost. This is exactly about that. Don't provide additional, never surprise your buyer in between he chose and he was delivered. Because this surprise can only be negative. Surprise, surprise. There is an element of the cost I was not aware, and now I see it in the checkout. I selected the good, I go to the payment, and then I don't see my preferred payment option. Right? Then I drop. So, bottom line, it's not fundamentally difficult to sell cross-border, but you need to understand the needs, the drivers of the buyers on the key markets that you are after. When it gets to their needs, preferences, fears, and they can not only be driven by the country of the buyer, they may be specific to the vertical or industry. Right? Obviously, you will not have the same perceived risks if someone is buying electronic service, right? Where he receives, for example, a game code or electronic ticket exactly just after the moment he paid for that. Right? So it's fundamentally different in various verticals, but you need to be simply aware of those factors when you want to be successful. So, as an example, you don't need to be that large to go cross-border. On average, our SMEs from Greece, when they switch on PayPal, after a year they sell 17 markets already, on average. So, are they facing some issues? Do they need to understand the buyers? Yes, but they are providing for, among those potential issues or fears, trusted payment methods that is acceptable by 250 million of people globally, where the buyer does not need to really think or fear what happens if I didn't receive or I won't return, because he knows that on the platform of payments and by the payment provider, he's actually given that a peace of mind, and he can remove it from his decision factors, what happens there. So, a couple of takeaways. Should you focus solely on Greece? No. Should you think about global? Yes. Is it very difficult? It's not fundamentally easy, but if you understand that you need to provide local language experience, trusted payment option. And you are expected to give the price in the natural currency of your buyer. You remove the fundamental blockers from the mind of your buyer.